Hi there, welcome to Reformed Ex-mormon. I'm Pastor Braden. I hope you're having a wonderful and blessed day today. Today we're going to ask the question, I hope answered as well, how to witness, evangelize, and share the gospel with those that are Jehovah Witnesses. Now, as a Christian, it is so important that we expand and build our arsenal, our tools on how we approach different occult sects and groups. The reason that we need to have these kind of tools available for us is that we should always be ready to give a defense for the hope that we have in us. And according to Galatians 1:8-9, it says that if a man or an angel, or even if we come and preach gospel that's contrary to the one that you have yet received, let him be accursed. And so the point of that verse is that there's only one gospel, and the Christian needs to know what that one gospel is and know how to defend it. We need to know how to share that gospel with those that are even a part of the Jehovah Witnesses. Now, the gospel is very clearly seen in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 1-4, and there it says that if we stand and have faith in Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, according to scriptures, that we are saved. And so it's the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ according to scriptures that is the shortest summation of the gospel. Now, just looking at Jehovah Witnesses in a very quick manner, they would deny that Jesus rose again physically, that he rose again only spiritually is what they would say, and therefore they have denied the gospel right then and there in 1 Corinthians 15, 1-4. Not only that, but they would also teach that Jesus Christ, amongst other areas that they would violate the gospel, but they would also say that Jesus Christ is Michael the archangel, not the one and only God in flesh. That Michael the archangel became human, and it wasn't God dwelling amongst us, but it was this angel dwelling amongst us. Now, whenever we approach anybody and share the gospel, this is something that I think that Christians fail at often, is we go about it seeking to win an argument using the very obvious stains and black marks upon a religion. And what happens is when we do those kind of things without sharing the gospel message, we find, or I have at least seen in the very least, is that though they are still on the same road to hell, all they have done is switched lanes. They've gone from being Jehovah Witness to now being atheists because they lost any trust or faith in any sort of idea of a God, because a Christian showed to them that which their religion was false without giving them the ultimate rest of Jesus Christ, that message, that good news message that we are here to proclaim. Now, so whenever we approach any person that is not Christian, a part of a cult or a world religion, the first thing that we have to do is seek to preach Christ crucified and deliver that gospel message, convict the person of sin, and show them all the ways that they have violated the law of God and fallen short of the glory of God and are in need of a Savior today, because you don't know when this person is going to die, and the last thing we would want is them not to be covered in their sins, and nor would we not want Jesus to be worshipped any longer that he hasn't already been in this person's life. So a couple ways that I would go about evangelizing to a Jehovah Witness person while sharing the gospel throughout the entire conversation. And this is just going to be just one of many several ways that you could do something like this. And I would encourage you to figure out, like I said, building up that arsenal, that language, these Bible verses that we can go to that demonstrate the gospel and who Jesus Christ, the nature of who Christ is very clearly. One place that I would go to, though, is Isaiah chapter 6. So I'm going to turn there, and I would encourage you, if you have a Bible with you, to please open up to Isaiah chapter 6. And we're going to look and see how easy it is to show that Jesus Christ is God in flesh, dwelling amongst us, living a perfect life, dying the death that we deserve, being buried and rising again physically, and how those things are so important. But in Isaiah chapter 6, we see Isaiah receiving a vision of God upon his throne, and it says in verse 2, and we won't read this all, but it says in verse 2 that he sees these seraphim, these angels that have these 6 different wings, all calling out to one another, and they say in verse 3, "Holy, holy, holy is the Jehovah Lord." If your translation is capital Lord, a Jehovah Witness would say that is Lord, or is Jehovah in there. "Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory." And I would ask the person. And it goes on to say it again here in verse 5. It says, "For my eyes have seen the King, the Jehovah of hosts." In verse 5 is what Isaiah would say. So I would ask the Jehovah Witness, I would show them this using their own translation, which I have right here with me right now. I would show them this using their own translation of the Bible, and I would ask them, is this Jehovah God in this text? And I wouldn't be worried about talking about saying Yahweh and worrying about trying to establish this Exodus 3:14 with this person yet. I think that would come about later. But I would use then and meet them on their own terminology, that which they are going to keep their ears open in that sense to continue to listen to you. And I would ask, is this Jehovah God in this text, or is this speaking about anybody else? And the conclusion that the Jehovah Witness has to say, because it says that word Jehovah in there, Jehovah of hosts, and the whole earth being full of Jehovah's glory, and that he's being worshipped by angels. He's being worshipped. You have to remember that he's being worshipped in this text. Is this Jehovah? And ultimately they will say yes. And I would go on and I would read the entire chapter here, and how it says in here that Isaiah is supposed to go and tell the people that there's going to be this type of people that have eyes that can't see and have ears that can't hear. And I'd ask them again, is this once again speaking of Jehovah in this text? And they would say yes. I would then invite them to turn to John chapter 12, verses. You could read a good portion of text here. When you're using their terminology, they like to continue to listen. They aren't automatically put on the defense. I would go to verses 35 on to verse, probably into verses 41 is where I would probably go to. But in here, in verse 35, it says, "Jesus therefore said to them, For a little while longer the light is among you. Walk while you have the light, that the darkness may not overtake you. He who walks in the darkness does not know where he goes. While you have the light, believe in the light, in order that you may become sons of the light." These things Jesus spoke, and he departed and hid himself from them. But though he had performed so many signs before them, yet they were not believing in him, that the word of Isaiah the prophet might be fulfilled, which he spoke, "Lord, who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?" For this cause they could not believe, for Isaiah said again, "He has blinded their eyes, and he has hardened their hearts, lest they see with their eyes and perceive with their heart and be converted, and I heal them." That is quoting directly from Isaiah chapter 6 that we just read and looked at. It would then go on to say, and this is the important part here in verse 41, "These things Isaiah said because he saw his glory, and he spoke of him." Now the question to the Jehovah Witness is, who did Isaiah see upon the throne, and whose glory did he behold that was receiving worship of angels and giving him a command to go to a people and tell them this very message that, according to John chapter 12, was fulfilled in what Jesus was saying there? And the answer is obvious, that he saw him, speaking of Jesus, Jehovah, Yahweh, Ego Emi. And then from there, I hope this kind of shows to you how you can approach the Jehovah Witness in showing them the deity of Christ without going to those verses that they automatically know different words and different ways to play this gymnastics type thing with you. This is a way that you can show them very clearly that in the context of this, that Isaiah saw Jesus sitting upon the throne, receiving worship as the God of hosts, Lord of hosts, Yahweh of hosts, Jehovah of hosts, and that this was fulfilled in Jesus Christ, walking amongst men, God in flesh, walking amongst men. And I would go on to talk to the Jehovah Witness about why is it that the Jews rejected and crucified Christ. And they might throw out a very similar answer to that of what the Mormons would throw out. Oh, that he was rejected for being this good prophet, this good man, this good being in that way. And that the Jews were these hypocrites, and they just rejected him because of those things. And while, yes, they were hypocrites, and yes, Jesus was good, But the point of it is that according to their very own words, it says, "Who are you, O man? You being a man, making yourself out to be God." And it repeats that over and over again, that you have made yourself equal with God. You have made yourself out to be the Son of God. And that is the very reason that in John chapter 19, the Jews crucified Christ. So it would be my encouragement that when we ever talk to anybody, whether it be a Jehovah Witness, whether it be somebody that is LDS, or it would be just our neighbors, that we would always leave this person without an excuse of not knowing the gospel. That the gospel was the very first thing that you started saying, and it was the very last thing that you were saying, and it was very clearly seen throughout the entirety of what you were describing through the text to this individual. And I hope by doing that, that you would see God working in the hearts of those that were once blaspheming him day and night, and that through doing this you would worship and glorify God here today better. I hope that this has been edifying to you, and I would encourage you to go in peace and share that gospel, share that Jesus Christ that has purchased you and I with his blood, God in flesh, living that perfect life for us and our benefit. God bless, and go in peace.